Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to Sally Talk. Wow, what a journey to get here. Today I'm very excited to have my wonderful guest and friend Stacy Dymalski on, and she's been wonderful to be open to doing my first broadcast via Skype. So I have my first guest via Skype. I'm very excited. It was quite the thing to get it working, but she luckily is an actual rocket scientist. She really is. So we'll talk about that in a minute. So it's always nice to have a guest that's an actual rocket scientist to help you figure out Skype. So anyway, I am very happy to be back on the air, I guess is what to say, and doing a new episode with a guest. As far as my injuries are concerned, thanks everyone for reaching out and saying they're sorry about my injuries. I am too, but I'm doing okay. And it's funny. I'm just like, okay. And I got 4.5 weeks to go with casts on. Could have been worse. And so I'm feeling much better, but it is a challenge. I'm literally running this episode with 2 fingers and a thumb. I really am. It's pretty amazing. So, first I want to thank my sponsor, which is me, Sally Holiday with Arbonne International. Until I monetize and I get, the mattress people or whatever I'm going to talk about, I'm going to do mine because that is who sponsors me. And I'm feeling very grateful about my business because I literally am running my business right now with 2 fingers and a thumb. And it's amazing how much I can do and how I can keep it going with my injuries. It's really fantastic. So it's a wonderful, wonderful company. But for 39 years, everybody, Arbonne's been looking out for you, making sure there's no harmful ingredients in your products. And they've been doing it for such a long time that they really understand how that works and how you formulate and how that works. It's not just something made in somebody's refrigerator. So if you want to talk about it and figure out how you can make your home healthier and align yourself with a company that really cares about the planet, then by all means, let me know. Go to sallyholiday.arbonne.com. Okay, so Stacy Dymalski. So thank you so much for being on. So Stacy and I met. It's funny, we were at a network, and I think I talked about this last time you were on. Yeah. But we met at a networking thing, and I just was like, oh my gosh, it was like everything about her was super fun. And the fact that she was a comedian, because way back before children, I myself did a little comedy. So we started talking about all that stuff, and then that's how we became friends. And then now we see each other at the networking thing as like an extra. So anyway, thanks so much for being on my show again. I'm very excited to have you here.
It's a pleasure to come hang out with you.
So I think everybody I can see her beautiful face sitting from her kitchen, and I'm sitting here. It's great. Skype is, I'm telling you, the miracles of modern technology.
So, yeah. I mean, we can just tell people that we're dressed in ball gowns and that the hair is done and the makeup we look, 10, 15 years younger because we just look so fabulously put together right now. That's the image I want people conjuring up in their heads as we talk to each other on Skype.
That's right, because we're all about realism. So, and it's funny, I was going to do on my Instagram, I was going to do that picture that Liz Barlack, famous photographer, that did of us, that composite picture of us together, since I can't do a selfie of us together here. So I was going to post that, and I want everyone to think that that's exactly what we look like right now.
That's exactly what we look like when we did this show today. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So, anyway, so let's talk about, we have been asked, what's so funny is that between the 2 of us talking, getting to know each other, this networking group asked us to do this thing last Christmas for the Christmas party or whatever it was. And it was so funny because when it's one thing to like perform in front of, like in a real venue. I don't want to like downplay it, but I'm just saying like a real venue.
It was a corporate event.
Yeah, so exactly.
It was in a like hotel ballroom situation, so no big stage and all that, unlike a club or a bar.
Well, also the expectation level, those kind of things, usually everyone goes to kind of like endure it, but they came, they're coming to like do networking. So that's what they came for. So they weren't really looking for, for a comedy show.
Although the group, the people who run the group, I did notice they kept like pimping us out pretty large before the show started, and I up until that point I was like, yeah, this will be no problem. But then I started getting little sweaty palms when they were over promising
right
what we would deliver. Although we did deliver that and then some.
Right. Oh, I'm getting, because I do have somebody listening. Can you turn your mic up just a smidge?
Okay.
Just a smidge. Yeah.
All right.
Good.
That?
Yeah, that should be better.
That's the person.
Yeah, that's
that
better.
works.
Yeah. I was like, please text me to make sure Skype is working.
I'm practically kissing this mic, so there's a million jokes right there. I was gonna say something else, but we'll keep this to a family show.
Right, exactly. I didn't click explicit when I started going live. So anyway, what was funny was we were like, oh, well, we'll just do an improv thing. And of course, I had some experience in improv, and of course, Stacy is very experienced. So tell me a little bit about your experience in doing improv and things like that. Your background.
I've actually been in 2 professional improv groups. One is called Off the Top Comedy, and the other one is called the Fault Line Players. Both of which are still running, but have moved to other states. Well, they perform all over the country, but they have their headquarters now are in Park City, Utah, and Phoenix, Arizona. So, for whatever reasons, they moved out of Southern California and moved to other places, and still are going strong. But I was in improv comedy groups for years, and I've worked out, with the Groundlings and UCB, just gone as, you can go figure out when they're having classes and go work out with them. So I've had a lot of improv experience in the background in my past. So when I'm asked to do it, as long as the other person knows what they're doing, or the other people you're on stage with, it's not a problem, because it's a process, as we had discussed before.
Yeah.
And it's like playing tennis. If you hit the ball across the net and the other person knows how to hit it back, you've got a rally going.
Right.
But you hit the ball across the net and they just stand there and let the ball hit them and drop. It's embarrassing.
Right,
It's very, very
exactly.
embarrassing. Fortunately, you did not do that. And there was this huge amount of trust between us, because now we can say this because the show we did was a huge success. But we did not practice or even talk to each other about what we were going to do until I think it was the day before.
It really was. It really was. We had said a couple times, like, oh, we'll do like scenes from a hat, or, we were like, we'll do something like that. Like, I don't know. We were thinking of something like we were going to do. It was funny. And we were like, yeah, we'll just do something like that. It'll be fine. And then, then the night before we're like, oh, we should probably have like kind of an outline.
Yeah.
What we should do.
Yeah. And the killer of that is, you and I had never done improv together before.
Nope.
So a huge amount of trust in each other to think, okay, I'm just going to assume she knows what she's doing. So when we get up there, we don't look like idiots. Right. And we, not only did we not look like idiots, people just raved about it.
It was really funny.
They wanted to know who our agent was, and when where else they could go see us, and all that kind of stuff. And it's like,
well, so much so we've been asked to do it again now, coming up in September.
Corporate group to do something else that we haven't figured out what we're doing yet.
So this might be something we will go back to, this having this conversation on this episode. Well, we'll go, remember when we were talking about, we kept getting asked to do stuff, and we may, like, who knows, we might take it on the road. It was so much fun. Well, it was funny, like you said that about, because improv is a skill, and it's just like anything. I mean, yes, you have to bring some of your, humor and all that to it, of course, but it's a skill. And once you learn the parameters of the skill, it makes people think like that you're making everything up off the top of your head. But there is kind of like there's rules and there's things to do. And that is the biggest thing with it, is that when somebody doesn't play by the rules, that's when one of the things I used to love about Who's Line It Anyway was because they were always like pretty much playing by the rules. And that was what was fun about watching them from people who had been, who had done it. So it was super fun. But
it was working without a net, because even though we both have improv experience, I had not done improv. I mean, I've been doing stand-up and my solo show, but I have not done improv in years. And
me neither. Yeah.
You hadn't either. Yeah. So we got up and we slayed it. I mean, it was like riding a bike.
Yeah, I know, it was super fun. So so we have some coming up, which is going to be great. So anyway, the other thing I wanted to talk about was that what's going on with your one woman show? A bit much because I got to see it again. I think I've seen it.
I think you've seen it.
I saw it 3 times.
More than anybody.
Have I seen it 3? 2 or 3, yeah. And I love it though. I thought it was great. So where is it going now? So you were at the Hollywood Fringe, and you got an extra. You got to do an extra show.
Yes, I did. Well, I had a run. I did Solo Fest at the beginning of the year, and then I did a run at the Hollywood Fringe, and I had 3 scheduled shows, and then I won an encore award for a 4th show, and all of them were really well attended. One of them was sold out, and what I've decided to do is I got a lot of feedback from people, including you, good feedback, and so at this point I want to do a little bit of tweaking. Mm-hmm. So I've not done it since, I think my last formal show was July 21st, and I haven't done the whole show since then. But I've done pieces of it in open mics and, storytelling venues and things like that, because there's certain lines I want to change and that kind of thing, and I'm testing it out. So I'm going to take the fall to do a little bit of tweaking and then put it back up in the winter and go from there. My goal is to eventually tour with it and hopefully get a Netflix special out of it somehow.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
That'd be
Yeah. Do you feel like comedy's on a up kick? I don't know. It's hard to tell.
The 80s, man, that was like when comedy just boomed and everybody.
Yeah, everybody was doing it too.
Yeah, wanted to try it. Mm-hmm. I think what's happened, it is on an uptick, but what is promoting it or making it so is this notion of storytelling. Because one of the things that I do, I like going to storytelling events just as much, if not more, than like open mic nights. So there's all these story salons around town where you can get up for 5 to 10 minutes and tell a story. And the difference being comedy is more like set up, punch, traditional comedy.
Right.
Whereas storytelling, like when I do 5 to 8 minutes of open mic at a comedy club, I will actually talk about one thing. I do one story for 5 to 8 minutes. Mm-hmm. And people love it. It's a funny story and they're laughing, throughout.
Right.
But it's not a series of jokes. And that's not saying a series of jokes is anything bad. It's just not my thing. So I think that because there are more venues now for people to do formal storytelling, whether it's funny or not, like there's the Moth and TED Talks are real popular. So there's all these little other things now that support that type of comedy, if you will.
Right.
So I think that's why we're seeing more people doing comedy, because even people, Hannah Gadsby, even comedians, they're doing more long form storytelling as part of their act. Like Jim Jeffries, in an hour, 70 minutes, he might tell like 4 stories. Mm-hmm. And that's all it is.
Right.
It's not a series of jokes.
Yeah. And I think that's what makes it unique too. That's what makes you unique, is because it's your story from your perspective.
Right. And nobody else could tell that story. I mean, people, I'm sure you've done that before, where you've heard somebody tell a story that you just thought was hysterical. Yeah. And then you're telling people about it and you're trying to retell the story and they're not laughing. And you're like, well, you had to be there. Yeah. It's because it's their passion, their perspective, their point of view. My
Uncle Tom is one of my one of the funniest people I've ever known in my life. And my brother and I were talking when my mother's birthday was just recent and my Uncle Tom was out visiting. He's 80. It was just that we can't repeat his stories. Like you can't, we'll say, no, he's like the funniest person I've ever known in my life. But then you go, well, what story did he tell? And you start trying to tell it. And you're like, it's just not, it really is. It's amazing. And I think that's what I've always liked. Those are the comedians I've always really, really loved. I love the set up punch people too, because to me, it's such a discipline. To be able to make it, to make it sound fresh and to make it like clean. And it's just it's really so amazing. And I really admire it. But my favorite type is the taking you on that long, windy story, you know.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, and that's becoming more and more popular now.
Mm-hmm. Also, I think what's fun about improv is that it's so unpredictable. I mean, even though we may feel like it does have like a structure, but it is a roller coaster ride. Like
Sure.
you get in, you know where you're going, you know where it's going, and you're all strapped in, and you know kind of like what you're doing, but you hold on because you really don't know. I mean, when we did that thing, I didn't know, like, some of the stuff that we came up with was hilarious, but you know, it was just because we were working within the, you know, but that's what's fun about it. And I think that's why audience members like it, because it's so unpredictable.
Yeah. It helps them when they're drinking too.
And they had been.
Yeah.
Oh, are they going to drink at this thing? Are they going to drink at this thing?
Yeah, they'll be drinking at this next corporate event for
sure.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, we got to make sure that we're on not too far in.
We had the greatest spot last time. They put us at the best spot.
Yeah, we really did. It was really funny.
Entertainment.
Yeah, it was really funny. So when you
to see how this goes with your wrist and hand.
We're gonna have to incorporate it. Yeah. Incorporate. Yeah. I was thinking we could do all sorts of, like, you know, that's, you know, we got, I don't know, that I was in a knife fight, or, you know, like I crashed my Norton. I'm trying to think of something dramatic instead of working a food pantry.
Work on your story. I can't stand it when, you know, somebody has a dramatic thing on them, you know, like some sort of, you know, you can tell something happened.
Yeah.
And you go, oh my God, what happened? And they say, I tripped over a curb or something like that.
Which was what I did. I know.
I know. And it's like, God, you need to work on that story. It like, I saved orphans from a burning building, or, you know, I got puppies out of a well. It's got to be something.
I threw myself in front of a truck to save someone. Yeah.
Yeah, for a good reason. Or if you just say you threw yourself in front of a truck, they think you're weird. You know, you're just not right in the head.
Right. Well, that's why I bring in the food pantry aspect, because that was true, and Lisa feels sorry for me, and they'll know that I was doing good. When we were in the emergency room, we were laughing. The guy we were talking about, and the guy who was wrapping up my arm was funny, so funny. And he said, "I think you should sue the food pantry." It was really funny. But it was funny. Like, we were laughing. Like, that's the way to fix this. That's right. Let's go after the food pantry.
That's good karma right there.
That's a great decision. It was real funny. So when you're talking about storytelling, that leads into something else that you do, which is you're the memoir midwife. So you help people tell their stories. So obviously, obviously.
In Hollywood, I'm branded as the memoir midwife, and I'm a story consultant and a story developer for books and movies.
Right.
Yes.
So that's part of it too. You like stories, and you like other people's stories, and you feel like everybody's got a story.
Absolutely. In fact, on my website, I have a manifesto and a mission statement, and as part of both, I do say, and I firmly believe, it's not, you know, over the top hyperbole, I think that sharing personal stories can save the world. I really do, because it breeds compassion in a world that desperately needs to understand the commonality of being human.
Yes.
And so I love to promote people wanting to tell their stories. I love to help them get their stories out in a way that is engaging and that will sell, because I want them to sell so that they can make a at least get some income from telling their story, so that they continue to do it. Because I would love that we can all do everything we want for free, but you can't. And so what I do is I help people structure their stories and, you know, get that beginning, middle, and end in an arc and all that, so that it makes sense and they get the message out that they want to get out. And then they package it either as in a book or a screenplay, because I also help with self-publishing and the marketing of books. So, and I'm a film producer too, but that's a little more involved. You know, you need more than just yourself. I know that there's these movies out there that people can do by themselves, but if you really want it to be commercial, film is a very collaborative effort. But a book, you could write and self-publish a book on your own, as long as you hire out all the parts of it that you can't do in terms of, you know, graphic design and all of that.
Right. Well, it's interesting is that, you know, the thing is about the monetary thing is that if a book is successful, then that means a lot of people read the story. So it's kind of like it works together. It means that it got out and everybody got to see the story. And I think it's really, I love storytelling, and I've always liked people. And I always feel like human beings are so complicated. And I get, I go on Twitter and you go on, and everyone likes to put people in a box. And people aren't in a box. They're very complicated. Yeah. They have a lot of levels to them. And I think that is what, like, somebody's story is important to hear. And I think that's why they're compelling when people see a video or they'll see something and it really shows a person and who they are. And everyone, like, really... because then they start feeling, because I think as humans, we really want to have compassion because we want people to have compassion for our story. And so we have compassion for others. But yeah, we've kind of gotten away. Yeah.
Well, that's why shows like, This American Life and Ira Glass, all the things he does.
Yeah.
That's why people gravitate towards that, because Ira Glass, for his show, did not put people in a box. He had all kinds of different people as guests, from, famous people to homeless people to, you name it. I mean, he got people to tell their stories, and they were so compelling. So, I mean, so many times I would drive home listening to, his show and pull into the garage and then sit there another 20 minutes until it was over, because I just could not tear myself away from finishing listening to this person I don't even know tell the story.
Yeah. Yeah, and complicated.
Whatever the topic was, even if it was something I didn't think I agreed with or that I already knew about, I would always learn something. Mm-hmm. I would always learn something from somebody telling their story.
Yeah.
So I'm passionate about it. I completely understand that is my mission in life, is to not just tell my own stories, and believe me, I got a bunch of them, but to help other people get their stories out as well.
Right.
And I feel like every time somebody does, every time that happens, the world goes in a better direction. Mm-hmm. Whatever direction it should be going in, it steers that way. It's a compass. Yeah. Telling your story is a little compass that helps point the way the world goes in the right direction.
Right. I think you're absolutely right.
Because it's hard to hate or be mad at somebody who has a story that you can relate to.
Yes.
No matter what color their skin is, or their religion, or their gender, their background, or their orientation, it doesn't matter. If they tell a story that touches your heart and you can totally relate to, it's hard to be mad at them or dislike them.
Well, and also, too, I think even if you can't really relate to it, it opens up, if it's done in a way where they're unique. I think that's the thing. It's like we tried the tribal thing and it doesn't really work, because I think each one of us has our own thing to contribute. And so I think when you hear and then the whole story, taking the time to hear the whole story instead of like the sound bite, you really get to know someone. I think even if you can't necessarily relate, like it's a story of one of my favorite stories is Michaela the Prince, she's the ballerina that was in Sierra Leone, and she was adopted by a woman in New York, and she wanted to be a ballerina ever since she was like 4. And I can't really relate to that story at all, in a way. I'm just thinking like, I can't really, but yet I just love her story. It's just so amazing to see like how it all unfolded, and it was what her dream was and how her mother made it happen. And it's just such a beautiful story.
Because it doesn't really matter what the mechanism is, everybody.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They care about being a ballerina, but everybody can relate to having a dream and getting to pursue it, or wanting to pursue it at any cost.
Right.
And so it's just a metaphor. Being a ballerina is just a metaphor for pursuing your passion.
Yeah.
And so that's why we listen and we relate and we want to hear the outcome. Because if you know somebody wants something at age 4 so badly that it hurts, don't you want to know if it comes to fruition?
Yeah.
Because if it does, it gives you hope about your own dreams.
Yeah.
So that's why, when my humor book, Confessions of a Band Geek Mom, came out in 2011, I thought nobody's going to read this except, my family and a few close friends. And it caught fire across the country. It was the little engine that could. And it was an independently published book, and it became a bestseller on Amazon Humor Books. And I think the reason is because I wrote about relatable topics. I was a comedian who used to live in Southern California, who moved to Park City, Utah, then became pregnant once, twice, had a couple kids, and I'm not Mormon or anything. And so I'm now in a part of the country that is a completely different culture, trying to raise kids, and I have a very acerbic, ironic sense of humor, which a lot of times people did not get. and it was a fish out of water, and so many people related to that. And I just did a story arc of these stories of when my kids grew up, and it didn't matter. There were people who never even had kids who loved the book, right? Because everybody's been a kid, and everybody has parents.
Right, exactly. I see what you mean. So yeah, that makes sense, because you relate on the on the larger level, on the human level.
Right. That's why when people say, "Oh God, everybody says I should write this story, but who's going to want to hear it?" And they'll tell me, I go, "Well, what is it about?" And they start talking, and you think, "Oh my God, everybody's going to want to hear that." A great example is when I did live in Park City. I worked. I taught a class at the University of Utah in storytelling, and another one in self-publishing. And one of the things I used to do is go around the room and have people introduce themselves and just briefly talk about what they want to write about. And most of these people were not writers, because it was through their community ed program. And I remember this one woman. We get to her, and she was kind of like a quirky-looking older lady, and she said, when I was 8 years old, I had a goldfish, and it died, and it devastated me. And everybody in the room kind of snickered. I think they thought it was a comedy. And she you could tell she felt bad, she felt. And so I said, "No, wait a minute. So I want to hear more about this." And she didn't really want to talk, but I pulled it out of her. And what came out of it in just about a minute's worth of conversation was that this goldfish, her dad had given it to her as a birthday gift. And then shortly after that, her parents divorced, and he moved out. And when the goldfish died, it devastated her. I mean, now don't you want to know more of the backstory of that?
Right.
8-year-old kid.
Yeah.
So by just a little bit of digging and conversation with her, the rest of the room was riveted. They wanted to, by the time we were done talking, which I said was maybe another minute, 90 seconds, I asked the class, I go, "Does anybody want to read that story?" Or I said, "Who wants to read that story?" Every hand went up. So it really doesn't matter what you're writing about, as long as it's something that is relatable to other people, and that it is structured in a way that people expect when they read a book or see a movie.
Right. Yeah. No, I see what you mean. And it's relating on that, because I think even though we're all different, we have a lot in common.
Yes.
So on that higher level. So yeah. So I see exactly what you mean. So that's what they relate to. Is they relate to that thing that's the common. My parents divorced. I would be interested because I know what that was like. Yeah. So that's really cool. Yeah. I think that's the other thing, is that we don't realize is how much we have in common. People
We're
think
all connected on an emotional level. You can't tell what somebody looks like or what they believe, or what their faith or anything on an emotional level. When somebody cries, you don't even have to know why it breaks your heart.
Yeah, exactly.
When you see somebody cry, if you got on a bus and you went to the back to find a seat, and you notice somebody looking out the window with tears in their eyes, it would break your heart.
Right.
You don't have to know why.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we connect on an emotional level, and it doesn't matter who you are or what you look like.
Yeah.
That's why I think sharing stories can change the world. I really do.
And it's interesting when you were saying about going to these weird places where they tell stories, because when you do improv, when you work out in improv, when you're not performing, but your troupe is working out, a lot of times I know we would do exercises of setting up scenes or closing scenes or whatever. And then sometimes they would go off on they go off and we'd like somebody would pick a subject and the next thing you know, it wasn't funny.
Yes.
But it was super powerful. Yeah, exactly. The long form. It's like it would be all of a sudden you're watching this thing and it's this beautiful, really powerful scene and it wasn't. And so that's kind of interesting that maybe that's part of the storytelling too, is that it just connected to everybody and it doesn't have to be funny, you know, as long as it moves people.
Books start out, story manuscripts start out one way and end up another. They think they're going to be funny and then they're more poignant, or they think they're going to be serious and they end up being funny. You just kind of have to be open to letting it go where it takes you. Right.
And those are some of the best movies and stuff are the ones that have some serious like moments in them. Like a great, like a crazy, this is a crazy example, but this is me in my movies. Like Night Shift was made like a million years ago. Yeah, with Michael Keaton and Henry Winkler. And it's goofy and it sort of holds up, not quite. It's a little inappropriate. It's a little not quite right because, they're all prostitutes. It's all good. Yeah. But sometimes I miss the 80s. But anyway, because it just like there were these crazy movies. But Michael Keaton has one scene where he's there. It's Christmas time and he's sitting under the Christmas tree. And she says to him something like, where are your parents or where's your family? And he says, my father said, I'm out of here. You and your mother are too ugly to look at or something. And it's this like scene. Yeah, it's like this moment. And I remember it's like this Michael Keaton guy. Who is he? And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, he's good. Like that was, how would you take this crazy screwball comedy and have a moment right there where you're just like, oh, your heart broke for him. It was great. And so I think a lot of times that's what's really important is the humanity of it. It's like making sure you're reaching in and it's just not all fun and games. It's like you bring in like the extra things. Yeah.
Right. Well, who is a master at that? And we were just talking about this yesterday is Dave Chappelle.
Oh, right. Oh my gosh.
That guy, his comedy is so poignant. And so sometimes you laugh in spite of yourself. And sometimes you actually gasp, not because it's just because he makes you think.
Yeah.
And so even if he'll say something and some people snicker, but you don't laugh because you're really thinking about what is the heart of what he just said.
Right. Right.
And he's labeled as a comedian, but I think he's more of a storyteller.
I think so too. He definitely has like a arc. He knows what he's doing up there.
He'll do a whole story and then call back to it, 10 minutes later in the middle of another story or at the end of another story.
Yeah, so great. I mean, that's why I was saying to you yesterday was that that I miss, back in the day, that's what I was raised on was like these guys who that's what pushing the envelope is. Like people think pushing the envelope is, no, it's pushing the envelope is literally saying something that shocks everybody, that just makes you sit there and but I mean like to make you think about something in a different way.
Not shock for shock value.
Right.
But a point of view that you find shocking and makes you think. There's a big difference.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, just getting up on stage and singing off a big stream of F-bombs. It's just like, it's just word porn. The first time it's shocking, and then after that you're like, I'm kind of bored.
Yeah.
But if that is part of your vernacular anyway, and it just is how you talk, and you use that telling a story that makes a point, then it's fine. It would sound weird if you didn't speak that way, because that is authentic to you, and that's how he is.
Yeah, and people can tell that. But I mean, but nowadays sometimes people are shocked by just certain words and things. That's what I mean. Like, and they don't want to hear it. And they're like, and it's very controversial. His show, It's so funny. Did you hear on Rotten Tomatoes? It's 0 with critics. I think it's slowly growing up.
His new comedy special?
Yeah, it's at 33% on Rotten Tomatoes with critics, but it's like it's at 100% with viewers. It's like one of the most disparaging, like the what's the word? When I fell, I lost my brain cells. The discrepancy, big discrepancy between, and it's like, that's actually making news, is that discrepancy. But I think that's what comedy, when I was growing up, that's what those guys would do. They would say the stuff and they had a point and they wanted to shake up how you think. They wanted to get you out of your closed, and your comfort zone and your closed thinking, to kind of shake you up and kind of see things from a different perspective. Right. And I loved it. To me, I just went, oh my gosh, this is what a great show.
Yeah, well, for people who are wondering what we're talking about, Dave Chappelle has a comedy special out on Netflix, and I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it again. It's the kind of thing that you do need to watch more than once. Yes, it's very good. Yes, that guy's a great writer and an even better speaker.
Yeah, I think so too. I was just blown away. So yeah, thanks for clarifying that. I'm getting it. It's funny. I start talking to people and I'm forgetting that we're, but that's good that we're there. People are listening
to the inside of your head.
Yeah, to bring things too. So what else do you have going on? I'm trying to remember.
Since we're still kind of talking about storytelling, for the people, I've got a couple of free workshops coming up. So for the people in the LA area, I have a workshop coming up called 7 Steps to Turn Your Story into a Book, which is exactly what we've been talking about. What is the process to take your story idea and actually create a beginning, middle, and end and have an arc in it? Mm-hmm. And it's a free workshop, a 90-minute workshop on September 18th from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at the Pasadena Library, the central branch, the main branch on Walnut. And if you want to sign up, because I do need you to sign up, there's an Eventbrite sign up, because I got to make sure, a million people don't show up to a room that holds 25. So,
because it could happen. You never know.
Yeah, I know. So if anybody is interested in learning how you turn your story idea into a book manuscript, you just go to my website, thememoirmidwife.com, and right there on the homepage, there's a button that you can press to sign up. It's open to anybody. You don't have to be a writer. You don't have to have written anything. It's just to tell you how to do it if you wanted to sit down and actually do it. And you will go away with a handout that has all the steps that I talked about on it. So there's that. And then if you're in the Park City, Utah area, which I know you have listeners all over the world.
I actually do. It's funny. I have a couple in France. I didn't know that. Which is great. Hey there. Au revoir.
I did beyond LA. Anyway, Park City, Utah, September 26th, which is a Thursday from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. I'm doing tips on how to market your self-published book. And again, just go to my website and sign up. It's free. Just sign up, and if you're in Park City, it's at the Park City Library there.
Oh, okay.
Libraries like me.
What's that?
Libraries like me.
Oh, yeah.
So that's good. Fun. I always love doing these free workshops.
No, I think that's great, because I know, and you had said before that sometimes people think, oh yeah, I want to write my book, but you really do need to understand what it entails. And that's what I did. I signed up with you to write a book, and then that's where the podcast came from, because I started thinking that I would rather do the podcast to express myself, but I'm not ruling out a book. But no, I was just saying,
you got a book in you. Yeah, you started it, so.
Yeah, I just wanted to, this for me, it helped me kind of organize my thoughts and have it decide what it is and what I want to say. So I just kind of jumped into doing this.
Well, what can come out of it? I mean, that's how my book Confessions of a Band Geek Mom came about, because I used to do parenting, the lighter side of parenting. I had a column in a couple of different magazines. Mm-hmm. And so I took some of these funny stories that I had written for these magazines and expanded them into longer form for chapters in a book and put them in chronological order. So there was an arc to the book from before I had kids in the last chapter. The book ends when my oldest son was 16 and I was teaching him how to drive a stick shift. And so that's how that book was born. I didn't just sit down and write that book. That book was probably 10 years worth of writing that I had done for something else. And then when I sat down one day and said, wow, these kind of all go together. And then I worked on it and made it a book.
Yeah. You hear stories about that, about how it's like, and that's why it's important to get started.
Yeah.
I think that's what's really important. People think that they're supposed to be there and then write the book, but it's the process.
It's the process.
Yeah, that gets
exactly.
there. Yeah, I think, and that's funny, when you were saying that about, parenting, because that's kind of what I was like, from having 4 sons and all that other stuff, I was a big talker about all the things that I was doing and trying to juggle having the children and everything else. So, of course, I, ended up with kind of regular things that I would say or tell, or stories I'd tell or whatever, to kind of make a point. So it's true how you get into kind of like a routine of, how you talk about it. So.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I mean, you can journal, you can do it. The one thing people should understand is if they want to sit down and write and they go, okay, here's a blank page, I'm going to write a book. And then they just start blindly writing. That is not storytelling, that's journaling. Yeah. And that's good too, because that's a good way to start. Mm-hmm. But basically you're just writing down free form your thoughts or your ideas, or narratively telling a story, just kind of throwing it out there.
Right.
But then you got to go back and structure it in a way that people want to see when they read a book.
Yeah. Right. Oh, is that a helicopter over your place?
Yes.
Hollywood.
I live in the Hollywood Hills up by the sign.
Right.
You hear that?
I did. It's fine. Welcome to Los Angeles. Anybody listening? That's where you
can look out. Oh, I don't have this view, but if you walk out on my street, you can look out and see downtown Hollywood and then downtown LA. And yeah, every once in a while, like, it does get sounding a little like a military exercise.
Oh, it's like that here. They get on Nextdoor. I love it in Burbank. They get on Nextdoor and they start saying, what are all the helicopters doing over my house? Or why are they here? And everyone jumps on trying to tell everybody what it is, and people on police scanners and stuff like that. It's very funny.
What were we doing about Nextdoor? I got a really quick sidebar funny story about Nextdoor. So a couple weeks ago, this huge tree in the middle of the night fell down in my yard.
Oh, wow.
I mean, half of it and it's huge. I mean, this tree must be over 100 years old. And what it sounded like was a transformer blew up, because it just made this, I can't even describe the sound. It was 1:30 in the morning. It woke me up, and I didn't want to go outside because I thought, what was that? So I was sure it was something like a transformer. I get on Nextdoor. I get up out of bed and get on Nextdoor.
Well, yeah.
And I'm looking, nothing. Now I'm waiting for the sirens and the helicopters, nothing. And I thought, what is wrong with these people? Well, I was too afraid to go outside. So the next morning I get up, I take my dog out at like 6:30 to go to the bathroom. And there's this tree, this fallen I mean, it was big and nasty looking, and the kind of thing that would kill somebody if they'd been out there. And it just, I don't know what happened. It just, half of it just collapsed in the night.
Wow, that's crazy. But you know what's funny is, why didn't you post, hey, that's a tree? What was that big noise? That's what, I can depend on people at Burbank to throw that out there.
I'm never the leader on that kind of stuff. I just wait till I hear something.
We have that with the fireworks too. It's like the fireworks go off, and all of a sudden, because we have a lot of fireworks around here.
Yeah, too. Burbank has a lot of fireworks.
Crazy.
What is that?
They have fireworks on Christmas, New Year's, 4th of July. It's so bizarre, and they go for days and days, and the animals freak out, and everybody gets on Nextdoor, and what's that, and da da da. But it's funny because I'm the same way. I'm not the one who'll go, what was that noise? I just wait for somebody else to do
that. Yeah, exactly. And it's funny.
But then I get mad when nobody does it.
Right? I was really confused. But the fireworks in Burbank is weird, because I've had friends that will send out emails or post on Facebook, hey, come on over for the fireworks. And I'm like, the fireworks? It's a Tuesday. What have you got fireworks going on over there for? But
I know.
They do.
It is. It's really true. I mean, it's funny because one day there'll be a I mean, God forbid, but one day there'll be something with a fire or something revolved from, and then they won't let you do it anymore. Yeah. It's funny. They do kind of let it. So it's really strange. Yeah. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah. Nextdoor is funny because it's very helpful in some ways. And then heaven forbid anybody throws out something or makes if you watch long enough, then if you read the comments long enough, then everyone turns on the poster.
Yeah. Well, here's what happens over here on this side in the LA city area. Somebody will post something about the homeless.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Go, we got to do something about this. They're blah blah, and then finally somebody will post, well, there you are in your ivory tower, poking, the defenseless homeless, and the person wasn't even like saying bad things about the homeless. They're like, we need to do something because I have to step over him to get to my car. Well, good for you. You're lucky you have a house. And, it's just like, oh, dude, just crawl back in your cave and shut up.
Yeah, I know. It's
trying to make something happen here, and you're just not seeing the big picture.
Yeah, I know. How dare you? We do that with the coyotes. So the coyotes come out, they walk around, and somebody goes, coyote sighting, Lima and Clark. And everyone goes, oh, I saw it. That's awfully during the day. That's not right. Were there any others? And, oh, no, there was just one. Keep the little doggies away. Yes, da-da-da. I did. Then they start telling the horror stories of all the coyotes that jumped in the back and killed their dog or killed their cat. Very sad. Very sad. I'm sad for that. And then down, down, down. And then you get the person who goes, we're on their land.
Yeah, exactly. We stole it from the coyotes.
We stole it from the coyotes. And this is really, just the fact that we're here, means they should be able to just roam around and do whatever they want.
They
and I'm like,
be able to come into our houses at night, drink our liquor, and drive our cars.
That's right. It's like, how dare you? But it's just like, it's almost like you want to count, like, how many down? Is it going to be 25 comments? When is that guy going to come out, the coyote lover who says it's our fault,
The homeless advocate, they deserve to sleep on the streets. And the person's like, no, they don't. That's my point.
Right. So, well, we're getting close to this. Has been great. It's funny. I was like, I want Stacy to come on all the time. I wish she could come on all the time.
One more thing to plug.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I have a new book out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. How did we not do that? Go ahead.
I'm doing the press junket, and that's why I'm here, but I didn't even bring it up before
now.
Well,
we have time. No, go ahead. We have a lot of time.
I have a book, the Memoir Midwife, 9 Steps to Self-Publishing Your Book, 2nd edition. I actually wrote the original original edition and was published in 2015, but so much about self-publishing has changed, and URL links have changed, and anyway, it needed to be updated. And so, and now I know more about it even than I did then. So there's a lot more resources, strategies, like I said, updated links, and you can find it on Amazon. It will soon be in bookstores, but for now it's only available on Amazon, and there's no ebook yet, but there will be an ebook in about a month. So if anybody has thoughts about self-publishing a book, I would recommend they read this first, because it's a lot cheaper to buy this little paperback book, and read it before you invest in any kind of part of self-publishing, because self-publishing a book costs you anywhere from about $2,000 to $5,000, and that is a modest estimate. It can actually end up being more. So check out this book first, see if it's for you. The Memoir Midwife, 9 Steps to Self-Publishing Your Book, on Amazon. You can find it on my website, thememoirmidwife.com, or you can go to Amazon and just search on my name, Stacy Dymalski, or self-publishing, and you should be able to find it.
All right, sounds great. Well, so I bet it has changed a lot since the time.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, and it's probably more and more accepted, right? Because I think initially... it was kind of like this outlier thing. And
2 years ago, the statistic finally swung the other way. It used to be, and I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but it used to be, over 50% of the books were published on Amazon or in the world were published by publishers. Now over 50% of the books in the world are published by self-published authors or independent publishers who are considered self-published. So
wow, that's crazy.
I know. And I think it's great too. It's kind of reflective of what's happened in film, independent film, and what's happened in music, independent music as well. You don't have to have a record company, you don't have to have a film production company, and you don't have to have a publisher in order to get your content out there, which I think is really exciting because it puts the control and the monetary benefits back into the hands of the content providers. Yeah. But that also means the content providers have to provide the upfront costs as well.
Right. So well, that was why, I mean, I'm obviously no expert at this at all, but I would imagine that's what the publisher was for. They took the risk. So they would read your book. They'd go, yeah, this is going to sell. So then we will front the money to make the books, to send out, to distribute, and then we believe we will make our money back.
Right. And that's why the author ever got anywhere only from 5 to 15% of the cover price of the book as their royalty. Because as anybody who has self-published a book will tell you, it is expensive to publish a book if you do it right. I mean, you can, Amazon and all these other places make it really free to just slap something together and put it out there. But if you are serious about competing against traditional publishing giants, eyeballs in bookstores or online, then you got to do it right. And that is going to cost you thousands of dollars, not including what you would charge for your own time if you were billing somebody for your time.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Don't you wish you could just bill somebody the minute you got up?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm thinking I'm feeding the dog. I need to invoice my dog.
Hey, listen, I used to work for law firms, and one of my bosses got in trouble because he put his haircuts. And I remember when I was doing his expense reports, and I did it, and it was like, what's this? And he put it all in little sticky notes. And I was like, this is a haircut. And he was like, well, it was because I was leaving. I had to go, I was going out of town, and I needed to get my haircut to go out of town. And I was like, I don't think this is going to fly. And so
it is a slippery slope. As an entertainer, back in the day, the first time I saw myself on TV, I was horrified. So I got a stylist. And it's weird. The stylist was, and I'm assuming still is, deductible as an expense. But the clothes that she buys for you are not. Yeah. So because I was like, oh, I got to deduct my wardrobe. My accountant's like, what is that? No. Are you insane? I'm like, how about my dry cleaning? No. And then all of a sudden it wasn't as great of a thing as I thought. But,
right, exactly.
Yeah, it's just weird. Yeah, you can't. I could see why he would think his haircut should be deductible, but no.
Yeah, well, it wasn't taxes. He was charging the client.
Oh, that's even worse.
It was his T&E, his travel and expense report, and he was getting the client to. He was getting the client to pay for his haircuts. It was like, I don't think this is okay. They're not gonna approve this. It was really crazy. Yeah. They just thought because we had big clients, so like Goldman Sachs and those guys, so they always think, oh, they'll pay for it. They're big. Yeah. Who cares? But it's
nobody will even see this line item. Nobody looks at it.
Yeah, it's integrity, though. You don't charge the client your haircut.
So I have a colonoscopy in between.
Yeah, I'm going to a meeting right after. Yeah, so I'm going to write it off. It's so weird. All right, well, we could go on, and we are. Yeah. This is good. We did it. So sorry about it was funny because we were talking about storytelling, and I don't know why I thought we did the book, but that's why it's good that we.
I know that was one of the big reasons I wanted to be on your show today because my book came out this week.
Yeah, so. But we can't. Yeah, but we talked about, but we led up to it, so that's good. I'm like justifying. All right, so thank you so much, Stacy. I love having you on. I love hanging with you. I love goofing around and talking with you. So we'll be performing on the 21st at the SSG Gala. Senior Services. Yeah. So that's what's we're already coming up with because of course we're not seniors, so we're
talking about seniors in college, maybe.
Yeah, so we'll talk about. We could do jokes about Jimmy Stewart, and we'll come up with stuff.
Yes, Exactly.
We'll think of things. Oh, and if anybody's heard thumping, every once in a while I hit my mic with my cast.
I did hear that, but I wasn't gonna bring attention to it. But since you did,
gosh.
I was like, what is she doing
It's
over
a
there?
thump. I apologize because I talk with my hands, so my cast goes up and goes thump. I almost hit myself in the face sleeping the other night.
I was going to ask if you had done that yet, if you had conked yourself, because those things are pretty big and you can hurt somebody with those.
I know, like hurt me. I was like
weapons.
I put my, I keep my hands up around my face when I sleep. I don't know why that is. I'm trying to train myself now because of the injury to sleep on my back so that I won't get any more wrinkles. So that's kind of like, I'm trying to get a benefit out of this. But
wait, how do sleeping on your back prevent wrinkles?
Because when you lie on your side, you smush your cheek, and and it makes, if you do that, you'll see that that's where some of the wrinkles are.
Right.
Yeah,
because there's no collagen in there anymore to
that's right.
fill it in right away.
I can help you with that, but that's another conversation. But I for some reason I keep all my hands over by my face when I sleep, so when I have this cast, I'm like, I can't do that anymore. So in the middle of the night, though, I kind of brought my hand up to my face, and I was like, it was so close. I was like, oh my gosh, what if I smash my nose in the middle of the night with the cast?
Broke your nose. You're back in the emergency room with a broken nose.
Everybody just roll me out. I mean, put me away somewhere. So anyway, thank you so much for being on. I wish you much success with all your endeavors, and looking forward to all the things you're up to and doing, and really looking forward to performing with you. So
that'd be fun.
Yeah, we got to make sure we're planned. We don't want to be cocky coming off of our last show.
Well, we should plan a little more than we did. We need to plan
a little bit.
Don't take much.
Thanks everybody for listening. As always, this is labor. This is I love doing this. So anybody who listens, I'm always very grateful. And people come up to me and they go, oh yeah, I listened to it. I heard what happened to you. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. So now I'm afraid I'm repeating myself because I don't remember what, I said. So anyway, thanks so much. So next week, another woman from our networking group, our networking group where Stacy and I met it's really,
you can say who the networking group is.
It's WIN, it's winning and networking, and it's we meet once a month, and it's men and women. Sometimes I think with WIN it looks like women in networking, but it's not.
I think that's what it was originally, and they changed it.
Yeah, now it's winning and networking, and it's great. And we just really seem to attract. I mean, think about it, me and Stacy are in it. It's got to be cool. It's got to be the best, But Liz is in it, and we have a lot of really interesting people who are really. They're really forging their way through the business world with what it is that they want to do. It's great. It isn't just not that I have anything wrong with life insurance salesmen and those people. I think they're lovely people, and they provide a good service. But I'm just saying, we have a lot of interesting people who are doing interesting things, and it's are promoting or coming out with a product or books or whatever, and it's really cool, and we have great meetings. So we meet the first Thursday of the month in Burbank, and then there's several other chapters that are around the Los Angeles area. So if you're interested in that, go to WIN, it's WIN all caps in networking.com, and we have a new website, so we're excited. So one of our friends, Angelle Cade, is going to be my guest next week, and she just has an amazing story. So her company's called Executive on the Go, and she helps you and when I become the top of the company with Arbonne, when I'm national vice president, I'm gonna go to her because she knows she can tell you whether you should incorporate LLC, what you should do, and I mean she is wicked smart. But her story is so interesting. She was born in the islands. It came to America. Her childhood was fascinating. Everything that she's done really fascinating, and she has a charity where she takes 10 underprivileged kids to Europe and stuff once a year. She just does all these really cool things. So I told her, I said, we need to get you on so that you can share what you do, because you're amazing. So Angelle's going to be on next week. And then I have other people coming up down the road. So the Skype thing, I think, worked. I'm excited. Thank you, Stacey, for figuring it out, because, yep, it was it was touch and go there for a little while. And so I'm hoping the sound worked out all right. But if it didn't, well, I'll just make adjustments for next time. But, you don't know until you try it. So anyway, thanks so much for being on. Thanks, Stacy. And thanks for listening. And I will be back next week. And I'm doing the music with one hand. And there we go. It might be really loud. Thank you so much. And I'll talk to you later.